Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And I hope you had a reet grand Christmas. And, well, I'm here back, as usual, talking about this. Haha, yes. Now, it is Dracula from 1958. Yes. Now, this was an inevitable film. The success of The Curse of Frankenstein in 1957, and also now for distribution, a deal with Universal. Well, it was inevitable. And this is what we got. The Dracula film starring Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. The wonderful combination. Yes. Oh, I mean, when I watch this again and again, I've watched it quite a few times, you just marvel at how wonderful and how refreshing and exciting this must have been for people going to the cinema. Everybody looks upon the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula as groundbreaking, which I suppose it was, and this amazing film. But I think this is actually a definitive Dracula film. It really is. It's obviously it's color, and the color is important because that sort of signifies this era, this new gothic era of films that Hammer were producing, which would become the Hammer horror classics. Yes, and this is where it's all starting, and already it's great because they've got the formula already, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they produce it. Now the director, of course, is the return of Terence Fisher. The screenplay, of course, is by Jimmy Sangster. I mean, they were so successful with The Curse of Frankenstein that they had to do this. And what a brilliant job they did. Honestly, it is an amazing job. What can I say about that? But just, it's fantastic. But anyhow, it runs for 82 minutes. So again, it's a good length. It's not too long. And you never feel that anyhow. It just is wonderful when you watch it. It just goes by beautifully. Um, Critics have given it, well, on Rotten Tomatoes, 90%. And I think generally everybody was, well, not everybody. There's always critics who they don't like horror. They didn't at the time much. But generally there was a very favourable response to this film. I think they saw the importance of it. And it was reet grand. It was reet grand, I'll tell you. Hey, Mike. Now, the budget was £81,000, which is not massive budget, and I think Hammer had to reflect this in the screenplay. I mean, I hear lots of people saying, "Hey, it's not like book, is it?" Well, they couldn't afford it, and if you look at the 1931 version, it's not like Bram Stoker's Dracula. 18 Listen to this, 1897 that was written. Anyhow, everybody goes on about the book and said, hey, it's not like that. Well, obviously, we couldn't have the Whitby sequences. As much as I'm a great advocate of Whitby and would have loved to have seen it, we can't have the sequence. It's just financially, doing boats and everything, Hammer couldn't do it. So they did what they normally do and were very resourceful and wrote the script to match their resources, but did it as usual in such a creative way that you think, wow, these special effects, these locations, the cinematography is a high standard budget film. Yeah, I mean that's how good. Let's start talking about why Hammer is so good. And that is one of the great secrets of Hammer. They were able, on such a low budget, to produce this. I mean, it's incredible. And of course, it was such a success that it made $3.5 million worldwide. Yeah. I mean, crikey, the return on that is this. It was so, audiences flocked to these films, as I said, like the first one and this one, because they were different. They were what they wanted. They wanted something more bloodier, more gory. Even though when you look at it, it's not that gory, but compared with some of the things we've seen, and also an underlying sexuality in these films, there was something just a bit there, and we may talk a little bit about that soon. Let me look at the cast as well. We've got Michael Gough. Michael Gough has appeared in such a lot of films. A great established British actor. He plays Arthur Homewood. Then we had Melissa Stribling, who played Mina. And then Carol Marsh played Lucy. And John Van Hyseen played Jonathan Harker. And also, I had to point this out. I like pointing things out. Jeffrey Bailden, he's there as a porter. He's another British character actor who pops up everywhere, has produced some great films and great films. I always think of him in Asylum, then I think of him as Catweasel, and you can go on and on talking about what a great actor he is. So, of course, we have Christopher Lee as Dracula, and I find it interesting that when I watch this film, he actually speaks at the beginning of the film quite a bit, I mean, normally Dracula in some of these earlier versions with Christopher Lee doesn't say much, hardly anything. He can't stop talking at the beginning of the film, as he's welcoming in. But, that presence of Christopher Lee when he comes down the stairs and talking to Jonathan Harker. Well, it's Dracula and Jonathan Harker. It looks good. It really does. The atmosphere. But he's talking a lot, and then, of course, we've got the wonderful, I just can't put words in, Peter Cushing again. This time playing his other role. He plays the Baron parts of Frankenstein. And he loves playing the Van Helsings, And here he is as Van Helsing. And he's great. Absolutely great. What I love about these Hammer films is that you always get the little village or stroke town. It's usually a village, where you have the sort of inn where people gather, and it's they do food and all that, and people stay there, so it's a bit more that, and there it is again. He walks in and everybody's looking, and when he starts asking questions, and the garlic hanging around, and the whole brilliant atmosphere. And you get all these things in so many of the Hammer films. It's a wonderful thing to see. It really is. I just love seeing that, and fantastic. So I mean, the story is basically it's that Jonathan Harker, he goes to see Dracula. It's quite a long journey, of course, and he's there, and he's a librarian. Hey, good old librarians. Don't knock them. I was one. Hey, bye heck. Anyhow, he's there, but of course he's not a librarian, is he? He happens to be a vampire hunter. And guess who he's in cahoots with? Yes, you got it. He's in cahoots with Van Helsing. And that's why Van Helsing is popping up later to see, help him out, how he's getting on and what have you. Because, things don't go quite to plan. And after a lot of this and that, I won't go into all details, but it doesn't work out so good for him. It doesn't. Well, let's look at it like that. And Dracula escapes and disappears again. But Dracula is also on revenge because, well, he's going to go after Harker's fiance and her family. And that's going to be his revenge when he escapes, which he does from the area. And then, because when Van Helsing arrives, he's gone, and they have to then work out how to, well, that's how the story envelops and trying to find Dracula again, because Dracula starts creating havoc as usual. Anyway, I'm giving too much away to the story, but that's how it all develops, and it's all inevitable, but wonderfully. And the great thing of the way it's filmed, you just sit there and are just totally entranced. I think that's the way. It's one of the most beautiful looking Hammer films. You're just entranced by it. You look at it and think, wow, this is a great film, and all the performances are great, the actors. And there's also little bits of humour even thrown in with these small parts that people play in Hammer. And, well, I absolutely love it. And I can see why so many people fell in love with this film at the time, like The Curse of Frankenstein. It's just an amazing film. I can't explain it, but it started all this with both films, really started the whole Hammer phenomena, and it continued, as we know, and it's so important in the history of horror films. Well, the take, I think, on this is interesting because it got its X certificate, and in some cases, like cuts had to be made. Yeah, I mean, cuts had to be made. They got the X certificate. Certainly in America, you can imagine some of this wouldn't be going down too well at all at the time. And I think a lot of it is also that there's the way Christopher Lee plays Dracula. It's very the post that was. Yeah, we've still got the posts coming. The strike's over. Well, it's not over, but for the moment, they're I think they'll be started up again as well. Anyhow, I got some posts. Right. Yeah. So, what I was saying is that Christopher Lee, he made the part kind of more deeper in terms of looking at the sexual side. I think some people weren't very pleased with the way he lingers, the way there's that sexuality there in him as a creature. I mean, if you look at it, he's doing something actually very personal in very way. He's taking people's blood, and this is done in a certain way. So there's all sorts of, you could go into underlying things, and he plays this so well. He does. He's just absolutely, he makes the role his own. And I know there are many takes on Dracula, and made some good ones as well. But this is, he sort of raised the bar to the point. I think he's raised it higher than he could if you compare it with Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, okay, is a different time, and it is amazing what he does in that first film, because I still love the 31 version of Dracula, but this, he's just taking it to a whole new level. He really is amazing. So if you've never seen this, I would advise you, please, see this, because it's so important in the history. It really is. Watch The Curse of Frankenstein, which I reviewed earlier, and then look at this. Yeah. It's a good thing to do. It really is. If you're interested in horror films, this is where you should be looking as well. And a lot of great directors did as well, with Hammer. Just then, a word about this discs. Yeah, well, there's 3 discs here. There's the Blu-ray. There's the I'll just show you inside. There's a Blu-ray, and then we've got all on here. There's just put that in. It's come out again. Yeah, we got that there. Then we got 2 DVDs. Yeah, 2 DVDs as well. Right. So the second DVD has loads of extras on, but actually the Blu-ray has some really good extras on as well. So combined, you've got an absolute brilliant combination. There's the back, and that lists everything. And honestly, the extras are absolutely fantastic and give you loads more insight into this film. I can't recommend it highly enough. I don't know if there was a little booklet with it, but I haven't got one. That it could have been, I don't know. But yeah, it's still there. And you can still get this. You look around, you could still get this one. It's one that has remained out. Now, also, this gives you the important option of the 2012 release of the improved cut of the film. They found some footage in Japan which had been cut by the censors, and they were able to insert this into the film, and it just adds that bit more. It's to do with the way the scene when he's Dracula is there. It's a more sexual look at the scene. You can see that in the way she is as he's digging his teeth in, and the way she looks at him. Everything is so interesting. It's a lot more sexual. You can see it, and this has been inserted back in. Because at the time we can't have that. Hey, by heck, it's a bit too much for audience. Yeah. So this is that is the version to watch, and you get a choice to watch that on here. And if you do it, watch that one. Yeah, it's great. Well, that's it. So all I've got to say, as usual, is if you enjoyed this, subscribe. Yeah, again, that costs no, and you get to know when I'm making these videos. So that's, well, good or bad thing, I don't know, but you'll find out. And then, if you like it, please give it a like. That costs no, and it might get people more interested in, saying, hey, I'll try that. And they do, hopefully. Well, anyhow. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.